19 and 20. Kind of a long text. What I've thought about doing here tonight, and the Bible tells us that, as you're turning to that we have stories, we have parables for our examples. That's what the Bible is about, is examples how for us to live that Christian life. And as I read this today and looked at this text, I thought of a man that I worked with that he got saved later in life, and he didn't have the concept of what the Bible really is. And he was doing, I said, why do you do that? I'll never forget what he said. He said, to pay God back for the sins that I committed. You can't do enough to pay God back. And we won't go all of chapter 19, but the story here is, you've heard it many times, of the rich young man that wanted eternal life, wanted heaven, and he asked Jesus what he could do to inherit or be perfect in this life. We'll start reading with verse 27 in chapter 19. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all, and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? Jesus said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And every one that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and it shall inherit everlasting life. For many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Then go into verse chapter 20. For the kingdom of heaven is like a man that is a householder, which went out early in the morning to hire laborers into his vineyard. And when he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And he went out about the third hour and saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and said unto them, Go ye therefore also to the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. And again he went out about the 6th hour and the 9th hour, and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out, found others standing idle, and said unto them, Why stand ye here all day idle? They say unto him, Because no man has hired us, he saith unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall you receive. And when even was come, the Lord of the vineyard said unto the steward, Call the laborers, and give them thine hire, beginning from the last unto the first. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, every man received a penny. But when the first came, they supposed that they should have received more. They likewise received every man a penny. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house, saying, These last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal with us, which have borne the burden of the heat of the day. But he answered one of them and said, Friend, I do thee no wrong. Didst thou not agree with me for a penny? That thine is, and go thy way, and I will give unto thee this last even as unto thee. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with my own? Is thine eye evil because I am good? So the last shall be first, the first shall be last, and many shall be called, and few are chosen. Now, we won't have a topic for this text here, because we won't look at it as a learning part or an example of why we serve the Lord. Why do we come on Wednesday night? Why do we do what we do? We see in verse 27, Peter felt, well, he's forsaken all. Now, President William McKinley once wrote Senator Henry Cabot Lodge, remember those old names, when negotiating over laborers and unions and trying to negotiate a better deal, as they call it in Washington, he said, for labor a short day is better than a short dollar. I wonder what he would say today about this when men worked a long day for a short dollar. Sounds like common complaint to everyone. I never did feel like I made enough when I was on the job. I thought I ought to have made some more, and you did too. Some of the features seem to contradict what you and I know about modern labor and managements today. Unions, and I've always said the sports industry, not interested anymore. There's no one worth what they're getting paid to play ball. I don't care. You're not worth millions of dollars to play ball. It's a job. Pay them as a job. I always said about Chipper Jones, when he was playing for the Atlanta Braves, he'd stand there and watch it. I said, if I was paying him $6 million, he'd swing at that thing. He'd try to hit it. That's just the way he worked for me. Maybe I'm not Donald Trump, I don't know, but he'd do something other. That's free. There was no seniority rights, and I worked for a company that was all here in this vineyard that they stressed and let me know often about seniority. When we started up the Ellison plant, I went up there under a seniority system and got up there, and a man, was took off of a job at another plant, but they didn't put it on the book, and they said, he has seniority. I said, I want to tell you people something. Seniority is not worth anything unless you're next. Now think about that. If you're next, the seniority might work, but other than that, it's not worth anything. Now, some workers received a day's pay for an hour's work. These wages here was fixed. And on this penny, this was not the U.S. copper penny that is worth absolutely nothing. They're thinking about even quitting making it because it costs more to make it than it'll buy. But this was a Roman silver coin that was worth an agriculture laborer's day's work or a soldier's pay. So it had some value. Now, it's hard to tell dollar-wise today how much it really was, but it was worth something. It was worth a day's pay of the work. Now, Jesus here was observed as a man labors in the marketplace, waiting for someone to hire them. Now, Alan remembers this, I guess. Some of you others might have been around easily when we were young. If the depot is tore down now, you went by and people would be a-setting everywhere, waiting for somebody to come by and hire them to do something. They needed a job. They needed food. And they was willing to work. There wasn't a welfare system that they could just go down and get it. And so that's kind of like this was. These people were sitting around the marketplace wanting a job if somebody just come along and hire them. Wasn't too much said about the pay, but he had heard them haggling over the wages and complaining at the end of the hard day now. Here that Jesus was a laboring man himself. He knew what work was. He worked, right, we suppose, for his father that was a carpenter. It's important to notice that this parable is not about salvation. Nobody works for salvation or complain about salvation. To use the different hours, and different preachers I've heard use this thing different ways, to symbolize the different hours of ages when people are saved is not the meaning. Some people talk about being saved the 11th hour, and they die at 10:30, Well, at the end of this, I hope I get to it. I don't want to hold you too long. But as you get to the end of this story, and you see that the people that worked 1 hour got the day's pay. And I thought of this today as I looked at this. I've heard preachers say, one not long ago, came in the funeral home and people's visitation, and the man got saved a few days before he died. And he said, boy, he just barely got in. I thought he didn't have to tell everybody. And now what about the rewards in that day? What about the people that's been saved 2 months, 2 years? And what about an individual that's been saved 80 years? That's kind of what this is about. What are they going to receive at the day of giving out rewards? This is not about salvation. This is about rewards of service. And you find that that person that's been saved 2 months, they get a great reward. There's one been saved 80 years and they just get just a little or the same thing. And will these people be complaining? Probably so, if they have a chance to complain. So that's what this is. Why do we work? Why do we do things? To get more rewards, we'd say? Or to get more than the other individual? Do we deserve more than one that has only been saved a little while? A black preacher, I heard him try to explain this, and he says, well, I'm going to tell you how it is. He says there's barrel-sized Christians, and then there's bucket-sized Christians, 5-gallon size, then there's gallon size, and then there's pint size. And I'm going to tell you, folks, you'll enjoy heaven to the full capacity if you've got a pint, or the full capacity of a barrel. That's what you get. So I guess he had it summed up pretty well. So we kind of do like these people. We want to judge, determine how they were to be saved, or how much they were to get. Now, he's not talking about rewards for being different. The Bible says that every man shall receive his own award according to his own labor in 1 Corinthians 3:38. And he didn't happen in this parable here. The 12 hours is the same. Those that work 12 hours is 1 hour. And it seems unfair. You may ask, if it wasn't rewards or if it wasn't for salvation, what was he talking about here in this parable? He was warning his disciples about the wrong attitude of service. I taught Sunday school 40 years. I know I'm going to get a better reward than that person that never would say anything. Well, you don't know what that individual's heart is. You don't know what those many people do that you never hear from or never say anything. He was warning people about that attitude back farther in chapter 19. I think of some people, a few, and Brother Chris and Marie would know this individual at Crescent Hill. I never could figure out. I would be called to the hospital in the night or something, and he'd already be there. Nobody knew it. He'd come down the hall. I never did tell anybody there in Crenshaw. But neither did they know what he'd done out at the county farm either. I went with him a few times. He'd go out there on Tuesday night and give those prisoners money to call home. And the thing that I remember that'll always stick with me, he would give them advice. One boy says, "There, I'm getting out tomorrow, and I don't have any shoes." There, slipped off his shoes, says, "Try them on." He says, "Do they fit?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "You got a pair now." There, went home barefoot, and it was cold, and I was with him. Nobody ever knew. He didn't want me to tell them. People like that, when the day of judgment and the rewards are going to be rewarded greatly, and some of my preacher friends and maybe me that thinks we're going to get something may not get anything. It's just so it's the attitude, and that's what Jesus was saying here. He was warning his disciples about a wrongful attitude, and Christians have to be warned about a wrongful attitude. As we said, and Peter was probably thinking about farther back, and we didn't read all this, the rich young man. And Peter said, well, what about me? Give up a lot. I know I'm going to get a lot. The Lord was kindly encourages, in fact, verse 39, about 29, what everybody give up, he shall receive everlasting life. But detected in Peter's question is the attitude of heart that's dangerous. When he said, what am I going to give? Was the disciples forsaken all only because they were rewarded something great or a promised reward? And the probing question here, why are you following Jesus tonight? Why am I doing what I believe Jesus would have me to do with my life? I think about it a lot. I want to do a lot of other things. And it just didn't work out that way. He gave several warnings that relate to the Christian service. And we need to understand that we have a responsibility of thinking as a Christian. Now, one, beware of making bargains with God. That thing you have to be very careful about. Now, I'll say this, get in trouble here, but it's my deepest conviction for the experience that I had early in the ministry. I don't do baby dedications. Never did. If a pastor wants to, that's great. I won't complain. Why do I not do that? Because people will dedicate that baby, never, and I've seen it happen, never have them in church again, never have them brought up in the admonition and nurture of the Lord. About 5 years old, they die. And preacher, why did my baby die? Did my baby go to heaven? It's not for the benefit of the child, but the benefit of the pastor, with that parent making bargains with God. They say they're going to do that, and I don't have one of these things that all y'all got. I had a computer to give it away. Don't know how to work a cell phone, and these strawberries, blackberries, all this other stuff y'all got. That people, that all my family has them but me, and you can do this. And 10 people in my house the other day, and 8 of them was doing that. The other 2 of us looking at it. And you think, but a person connected with this church a few weeks ago, something happened to them, I don't remember. And they had made a rededication of their life, and they was going to be in church, serve God from now on. He had spared their life and blessed them. 2 days later, these people was doing this that you do, and this person was down at the beach in a boat. So, making a bargain with God. You got to be careful when you do stuff like that. I've had people on the sick bed, preach, if I get off this bed, I'm going to serve the Lord, I'm coming back to church, and they never come. If I get out of this trouble, preacher, I'll be there, and I'm going to straighten up. They never do. Don't make bargains with God. Then you find out, well, why does all this tragedy happen? The owner of the vineyard was anxious to get his harvest done. He owned the vineyard, and that was his livelihood. He went to the labor pool at 6, and this is what he done. Notice, I didn't get this many times. He personally recruited some of these workers, and the harvest was great, and the laborers was few, as Jesus said in another place. He went back at 9, he went back at 12, he went back at 3 and 5. Did you notice in this, when you read this, and I didn't the first time, there are 2 kinds of workers. The 6 o'clock group had a contract to work for a penny a day. Those others at 2, other hours, they didn't. He said, whatever right, I'll give it to you. That was the deal with them. He didn't tell them what he'd give them. Now, this brought about the second warning. Beware of watching other people work. Beware of watching other people in church, what they do. Now, Peter had watched this young man walk away from Jesus, and Peter kind of contrasted himself with him. He said, well, he wouldn't give up what he had, but he was rich and unhappy. But Peter says, I give up everything. I give up my family. I give up my fishing business. that was a dangerous attitude for Peter. The disciples had been guilty of watching other people and drawing the wrong conclusions here in this parable. They saw a man cast out demons in Jesus' name, and they didn't like that. Here's a man over here casting out devils, and we can't or are not casting them out. And Jesus said, forbid him not. If you're not against us, then you will be. So sometimes these other people that serving the Lord may not serve him just like we do, and I have trouble with that. I think a lot. Reminded every day nearly with people. They say, you're the tail end of the old belief and old-timey preacher. I have trouble with contemporary service. I have trouble with it. And that's the reason I said what I did. We're not told how to do church, and they don't do church like I do. I went to one, not to see if I could join this association years ago, and I didn't see that much commotion at the circus the last time I was there. Flashing lights, hollering and hooping and carrying. Well, maybe they're right, but that's not for me. I was brought up to behave and be quiet in church. As Ronald says, wonder if we had any heirs down in the old church, and it wasn't my mother, it was two or three other women that I won't mention. If we got to doing a little something wrong, they'd thump our ears. What would you do if some woman just thumped your kid's ear in church? You'd probably see a fight now, but then I think my mother and daddy was all for it. You had to be quiet. And I've said this, won't stay long, but I've thought about this 100 times. Down in the old church, the three old sets of pews, they wasn't too long. Well, boys sat over next to the double door. And Daddy sat in the amen corner along with the deacons. And if we got rowdy, he'd do this. If we didn't stop it, he would shake his head. Too late. Woe be unto you when you got home. I mean, that's just the way it was. And you learn to behave and sit still. And so that's the way I guess I was brought. And that's the way I was trained, and I can't get away from that. I'm not going to try, but the disciples are guilty of watching other people and drawing wrong conclusions about what they were doing. Now, we often attack those who success maybe is shown more than ours. We criticize others, so we won't look bad. We need to be careful about that. We become like the elder brother in the parable, with the prodigal son. He didn't rejoice that his brother come back or saved, but he done all this good work, and he didn't get the fatted calf. He didn't get the attention. He says, Lo, all these years I served thee. And when the Lord gives out those rewards, I'm afraid some of us might say, Lord, did you forget those years that I served you? That person didn't do very much. It's a sin to watch one another and judge one another. We're to watch over one another, the Bible says. And we not watch but watch over them, guide them in their way. Now, the third warning is overconfidence. The 6 o'clock workers supposed they'd receive more, and they were convinced, and they ended up being very disappointed. Now, I guess I would have felt the same way. He says, now start at the 1 hour, start at the last people I hired and pay them. And they paid them all the same. Only one group had a contract. The rest of them didn't. And Jesus really said, how do you know you're going to get anything, Peter? Peter thought he was among the first, but Jesus warned him that he might find himself, notice in verse 30 here, that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. You might be in that group, Peter. You don't know what you're going to get. There will be many surprises at the day of judgment. As Billy Graham said, there'll be 3 surprises. We're going to look around and see these people that we thought surely would never go to heaven. And there they are enjoying the greatest of glories. And you say, well, what is he doing here? And Billy Graham says, you look around and say, well, where's all them people at that I thought was coming? They're not here. And then you look around and say, what am I doing here? When we see what we deserve. So that's quoting what he had to say about that. Now, the workers made a bargain, and they didn't trust the Lord's word. Did Peter learn a lesson of what Jesus was trying to teach here? The answer is given in the book of Acts. Yes, he finally learned his lesson when he said to the man sitting at the gate, silver and gold have I none, but such as I have I'll give unto you. Yes, he learned his lesson. And I give some thought to this study today. And the thing that I remembered, and we'll go home, in 1962, I went on a job training for a better job. And I had to work Thanksgiving Day 4 hours extra, and I didn't want to do that. But payday, I was glad I did, because I needed the money. And the overseer brought my check, after taxes, $99.99 with a penny taped to it. I ripped it off and gave it back to I said, if this company can't put it in their figures to give me $100, I ain't having it, and I wouldn't have his penny. So that's the reason I didn't last long with that company. I had an opinion. So let us stand and remember, hope you got something from this study. Read it again and again and see where you fit into this story. Is there anything here that would benefit you in the Christian life? Brother Chris, you dismiss the prayer.